Buddy, and welcome to On the Move, a show where we share transportation sales and marketing success stories. I am Jennifer Carpus Romaine, Executive Director at the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association, which is a trade nonprofit in the transportation and logistics space that helps educate and connect marketing and sales professionals. Today, I'm really excited to have Coleman Ruffin on the show, who is going to be serving as our MC for the TMSA ELEVATE Conference, which, if you can't believe it, it is next week, which seems
It's coming up quick.
crazy. And I'm really glad that you guys can only see like a little window into my office because of the amount of explosions between all of the things that I have to bring with me and pack, and the name badges and the ribbons and all of this craziness that lives behind me right now. But how are you doing today, Coleman?
I'm doing very well, and I'm actually very honored to be here because I apparently now am a success story within the sales and marketing realm, which is amazing. So this is the sign that I have officially made it, which is great.
Well, that's actually funny that you say that because so you're what's your official title at Beta? Operations
VP of operations, but
VP of operations. I'm like, I should
everybody
know that like
internally
that.
calls me the glue guy. I'm there
Yeah.
to help
So
everybody out.
you work at Beta Consulting Group, who is one of our members, and we're so excited. But you've been there for almost a year now. But
Yeah.
I've known you for a couple years and in different iterations. And I feel like people probably don't know your actual full extent of how long you've actually been in the industry. So I
Yeah.
think you very much are a success story in transportation marketing and sales. But if you want to give some background about like your career and kind of what brought you to this point.
Yeah, 100%. And I get that all the time from looking like a 12-year-old. People are like, you can't have been in the industry for more than a couple of years. That's it. But no, I was actually talking about this the other day with somebody. I've been in the industry for over a decade, which when you say it like that, it makes, man, I am getting old, it feels like.
Mm.
But yeah, I've worn a little bit of every kind of hat that there is in the space. And almost that the saying that I kind of feel like equates to a little bit of my career path is the jack of all trades, master of none, but is better than a master of one. So I started out at one of the largest brokerage and 3PLs in the space. I was there for about 6 years. I started out as an account executive and did that role for about 3 years. Found a lot of success in that position. And then they actually had one of their new hire trainers transition out of that role. And I was tapped on the shoulder by my manager and saying, hey, you help mentor some of the new people that are coming in through our group. I think you'd be really good at this. So I applied for that position and then actually started with new hire training and then was in L&D for the other 3 years that I was at that company, and started out, like I said, just new hires, but then actually evolved into more just generalized sales training across the organization. So helped not only from people that were coming into the industry fresh, but also more tenured sales employees and adding structure to that side of things. Then life took us a little bit out west. So that position was in Chicago. I got tired of the negative 50-degree wind chills in the winter, and unfortunately couldn't relocate with the position because it was so in person. So my now wife, and I took a little leap of faith, moved out to Denver, and started in the recruiting space, specifically within supply chain. And that was a really fun and different type of challenge because I got to work with so many different companies within supply chain, from startups to really successful and well-established companies, helping fill positions of all shapes and sizes. Again, some entry level type of positions and even some C-suite and kind of everything in between. And it did that for about 4.5 years. Helped from an operational standpoint and recruiting within there, and then joined Beta, like you said, coming up on a year here, and helping try and grow this team. And now focusing more so on the marketing side. So we help companies really brand their company and clarify their message to the market. So I've done a little bit of everything across the board, but I wouldn't change anything for it.
I am also a person who has like bounced around to a lot of different roles. I feel like it gives you a fuller scope into
Yeah.
your job. It also keeps you on your toes, and
Yeah.
keeps you learning, which I think is incredibly important.
That's honestly one of the biggest things. And I think that there's a time and a place and a role for everybody within that, right? Like we need experts in one specific spot. And if
Mhm.
that's what you enjoy doing, heck yes. Like we 100% need that. But for me, I wanted to try and have a generalized understanding of business as a whole and everything that kind of goes into it. And it worked out perfect here at Beta, where I can have an effect in different aspects of the business, as opposed to saying, hey, I just do operations and that's it. Like that is my main focus, and that kind of what gets me excited within here. But I'm also able to help out across other areas of the business, not only internally, but with clients as well. So I like the generalized type of style that yeah, not only myself, but also you have been able to kind of come up with throughout the careers.
Mm-hmm. So as we gear into Elevate, which it is a lot of network, but we also really pride ourselves in our educational lineup, in our education resources, because you have done so much in the past in the learning and development space. I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit with that. And I'm curious, what are some of the most surprising trends that you've seen in learning and development in this industry? And even with that, like what are companies missing in their research or in their
Yeah.
training and development?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest trend that I've seen since I started even in the career is people actually caring. Like, and again, I was working at one of the largest brokers, so we had this new hire training, and obviously we developed more as we continued along. But when I moved into the recruitment seat, I was absolutely shocked at how many companies didn't have any formalized structure for, hey, we're onboarding this person, just sticking behind a computer and have them sit next to somebody for a little bit, and that's it. So that was a very eye-opening experience for me, and I think that there has been a large focus from an L&D perspective on making sure that they are trying to set their people up for success. So there has been a large push for a lot of new hire training, which is great, right? Getting people used to the industry, getting people used to systems. But I've also seen that there's been a larger push towards continual learning, which is absolutely imperative for everybody, right? Like you see companies like Sync Logistics or Journey doing certain things around learning and development and training for people that are a little bit more tenured in their career as opposed to just the strictly new hire. So I think that there's been a lot of companies that have realized, hey, we need to set our people up for success. And I think we need to invest in them to make sure that they're still growing throughout their career, but then staying happy. I mean, there's nothing worse than feeling stagnant in a role. And well, at least in my opinion, some people maybe like the, kind of same monotonous type of stuff that's out there, but being able to continually learn is extremely important. I think that a lot of companies from an L&D perspective have been realizing that over the last couple of years and are putting a larger emphasis on it, which is phenomenal. Kudos to those companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's two things that I see. Number one, we talk about new people all the time because they're new, or like people that are just
Yeah.
coming out of college, you're just starting your career. They need training, they need development because they're new to the space, they're new to the role, they're new, they're fresh. But and then there's a point where you then transition into eventually maybe an executive leader or a manager or whatever that top is going to be for you, and then you become the mentor, the person doing the training, the person. But like there's this
Yeah.
whole time in the middle that like, what are we doing? Like, where are we going? What are we doing
Yeah.
to provide? And I feel like that group of people gets missed out so much. The middle managers, the people that are like, okay,
Yeah.
I want to go to the next step, but I'm not brand new. So you don't need to tell me like quite how to navigate the beginning part, or like tell me like what benefits I need to be looking for, which I think is stuff we should do way more for kids coming out of college. But
Oh yeah. Yes, very much so.
but like you've known those types of things, you've figured out like the areas that you do like to work in or things that you would want to learn more, but there's not always opportunity. And so I
Yeah.
do think the ongoing education, advancing that, really going into that, because I think that that's where we're seeing a lot of people who then end up leaving their jobs or leaving their companies because they feel the only way that they're going to get that training is if they become new again.
Yeah. And that was tying this back to my time in recruiting as well. That was one of the biggest things that I would get continually asked is somebody who is in an individual contributor seat, so has been selling for 10, 15 years, whatever it is, how they can move into a managerial type of seat and help coach and mentor certain people. Because if they're applying for a new job, more often than not, if you're applying for a management position, they're like, well, we want to see that you've managed people and seen that success, but they haven't been afforded that in their current position, and what things they could do to overcome, right? Like it's not just always a continual path where it's just super easy and everything is going to be built out for you. There's things that you have to do to build up those skills to make sure that when you move into a position that you're ready to do it. And I'm sure we've all been in a scenario where at a company, like hire a sales manager or something, or promote somebody, excuse me, who is a successful individual contributor, but they might not have the skills that it is to really lead and coach and
Mhm.
mentor people because they were so focused on just, hey, I am handling my business. This is what I need to do. That doesn't always translate. So there's just so much that goes into it that everybody needs to be able to have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about specific career paths and how they can get into those, as opposed to just saying, yep, just keep your head down and you'll keep moving and rising through the ranks. It's not how it always works, unfortunately.
Mhm. And I like the point that you made about too, like some of our best performers, we think then, okay, they're doing so well, we have to then move them up. But like that's not always the case. Not everyone should
Yeah.
be a manager. Like
Yeah.
that's not always the best when you look at like your skill matrix and like how can your team be most effective when you're then
Yep.
taking out your best performer and
Yeah.
then putting them in a position that they may not want. But how do we then still keep those people motivated? And like,
Yeah.
there are other paths to success. So I think that's really important as a manager, as a leader, to be looking at your team and being like, okay, where are we successful? We don't always
Hmm.
have to push people up if that's not what you want to do. Like you said at the beginning, like some people actually like what they're doing and they like to have repetition and they like to be in this space and they like to know what they're going to do every day. And we
Yeah.
shouldn't be like penalizing them or pushing them somewhere else if they're really, really good at what they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, and that was one of the gentlemen that I worked under at my first, job in the 3PL space. He was absolutely killing it in sales, and he was tapped on the shoulder to move into a management role. He's like, honestly, I would not be good at that job, and I like what I'm doing. Which kudos to that person for knowing that, as opposed to
Mhm.
saying, "Oh man, this is a quote unquote on paper promotion." But he had the self awareness to say, "Listen, I like my lane. I'm good at what I do. I would not be good at this. I'm just going to keep moving forward." And obviously, they found somebody else for the position that ended up
Mhm.
being phenomenal for it. But it's just interesting to see how some companies view that career path.
Mhm. And I do think that then there are the people who want to rise up and they want to get to that next level, but they aren't always presented ways at their own companies to do that. And what I have seen from being at TMSA, so obviously I'm executive director now, but I was a director of marketing team of one when I came into TMSA. And that's actually one of the reasons why I got involved in TMSA. I joined a committee. I learned how to work with other people, other roles. I then took on a chair position in a
Yeah.
committee. So then I was leading a team. And I actually feel like we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation of like, the ongoing training, there's these gaps of where we're training new people and then we're not training other people. I actually feel like that's where industry associations getting involved, continuing education, going to professional development events such as
Yeah.
TMSA Elevate, like that's where you're getting a lot of that. You're networking with your peers. You're able to network with people. You may be able to grab a mentor of
Yep.
somebody. And that's something that I know like a lot of younger females are like, oh, at my company, I don't necessarily have a more veteran female in the industry.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, which is awesome. But being able to find that and be able to meet people that are in your core group, what your job title is, and but also then be able to expand about that, and then also be able to participate in committees, maybe taking a more leadership role. I always tell our committees, like on our marketing committee, I'm like, if there's something that you've always wanted to try, but you don't get the go ahead at your company, like you bring that idea to me and we'll see how.
Yeah.
I was actually laughing. I did that, which is crazy. It was I think maybe 2021 because it was before, but the very first TMSA LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live was with me and Holly Laboda, who is one of our education chairs. And it was when I was marketing chair and she was education chair. We weren't, it was before I then had even a thought that this was going to be my job, but I always wanted to do it. And I wanted to test it, see what, and then we were doing, I think we were both doing workshops at
Yeah.
conference that year. So it made sense. And I interviewed her and we had banter, but it's so funny. And it's funny for me to like then come full circle that here we are 3.5 years later, and now I'm on a podcast interviewing all our members all the time. But it's like funny because I'm then the only person that has ever done TMSA LinkedIn Lives because I did that first one just in
Yeah.
my role as the marketing chair. But I do think that's a way that people can really do that, is get involved, and not just TMSA, obviously that's going to be what I have
Yeah.
the most touch points with, but getting involved, joining industry associations, meeting other people, going to the events, networking, going to the educational sessions that are really, really
Yep.
strong. Those are all ways that people in that middle zone can really, and even all zones, obviously, if you're new, if you're mid, or
Yeah.
if you're an executive, being able to network with your peers and go to education sessions that matter to you is really important.
That was one of there were like two or three really big things that I would always harp on for people that, again, looking to take a different type of career path. And the first one is exactly what you said, where it's going to organizations like TMSA or other networking events is the first step, right? Like understanding people that have been there, done that, what their experience was, what they would do differently, what they would recommend, because the people that are in that seat, those are the best people to learn from, right? Then you can start taking those steps of finding a mentor or two or three. I don't think there's anything wrong with having multiple mentors, again, to kind of talk through your journey, and then getting credited in certain courses. That's another easy thing to do. And that is one of the check boxes on paper. Again,
Mhm.
right? Like sometimes it's hard to communicate if you're applying for a different job. If you still have all this great experience, but you haven't done certain specific tasks. So between those three things, again, networking, finding a mentor, and then taking some outside class, whether it's Udemy or anything along those lines, that's how you can really position yourself if you aren't afforded the opportunity within your current organization to kind of get to that next step.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think it's really important, and that's like I mean, we all go to conferences because we're gonna sell something. That's the other piece of trade shows,
Yeah.
but I've really enjoyed the times that I've been able to go as a learner,
Yep.
and be able to just absorb that and learn the new trends, see what's going on, seeing what other people are doing, and that's like at TMSA. So obviously, Elevate is next week. We also have our
Yeah.
award program. We do our Trailblazer, so people can see, hey, these are all the marketing and sales campaigns and big things that happened this year that were big wins for them. And you can see all that, and that gets put into our member portal as well, so members can sift through that and look through that. I think it's really important, and we try to really diversify the content at Elevate to appeal to different people in different ways. So like we have
Yeah.
panels like an economy panel, a shippers panel, like hear directly from these industry experts, these experts that have
Yeah.
deep knowledge of what they're talking about. And then we also have breakout sessions, so we have more deeper dives into content. So there's a sales breakout, there's a marketing breakout, and there's a general breakout. So if you want to take a deeper dive in some of the sessions, and I actually looked at all of those breakout sessions this morning, and I'm really excited about them, because they're all different, all offer something a little bit different, and they just
Yeah.
really help you figure out what's coming next and what you can be doing.
Yeah.
From an MC perspective, what can the people expect from you, Coleman?
This is oh man, this is a tough question because I think that you are going to get exactly me. I'm a pretty authentic and genuine person. What I will say, and I apologize for this, you aren't going to see me on stage dancing to any TikToks. Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay.
As, Aside from that, expecting what to expect from me as an MC. Again, I think that you're going to get me probably smiling a little bit too much. You're like, why is this guy smiling so much? I can't help it. I'm sorry, but realistically, you're going to get some of the, like you were just saying, some of the most phenomenal content that's out there. I am just there to help guide things along and make sure to answer any questions and keep the energy up. But I don't think that that's going to be a problem with this group. Every interaction that I've ever had with anybody involved with the TMSA has been absolutely phenomenal, super welcoming, and again, always very interactive. So I'm just excited. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I did a like top 5 things for attendees to know yesterday, and I sent it to them in their email. So if you're attending, please look at that video. And
It's a
I
very helpful video. I watched it. I love
Perfect. It's only like 2 minutes. It's really like
Yeah.
these are 5 things, and I could probably so because I wanted people who've both been to Elevate before, but also people that are new to know, hey, all these emails that we've been these pre-conference emails that we've been sending you over the past couple weeks, like these are the pieces that you should actually know. Like number
Yep.
1, we're doing community give back again this year. We're partnering with the Covenant House. You can come on Sunday at 4:30 and participate in the community give back by doing Tide blankets that will then donate to them. Or you can also donate gently used or new black or white button down shirts. We'll be collecting those during our Blazers Bash. The reason why we're collecting those is because the Covenant House really helps the homeless community and also people that need job placement getting back on their feet. And they said
Love that.
it's a very hospitality type town, obviously, in New
Yep.
Orleans. So those button down shirts that you see, like the hostesses and the hosts wear, like that's really what is most helpful to them. So that's important. We're also doing on Monday of next week, wear blue for TMSA Blue. It also represents like creativity and imagination and all of that stuff, which is all the things that we want to do. But we've never done that before. So I wanted everyone to be like, hey, make sure you wear blue. The award banquet is Monday night, and this year the theme is a Mardi Gras theme. So, and we call it Dress to Impress, and people ask me what that means all the time. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
whatever outfit you think will impress people, but typically people do dress up a little bit, but it's not like we'll kick you out the door if you're not in like fancy
Yeah.
attire. And no one
It's
is
not
like
the red
ever,
carpet by any means.
yeah. No one has ever shown up in a ball gown or anything like that. I wouldn't put it past, especially Mardi Gras. Who knows what is going to show up this year? But and masks are encouraged if people want to wear those. There was 2 other
Wellness
points
room.
in that video, but what?
Wellness room. Wellness
Oh
room
yeah,
as
in
well.
the wellness room. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, you're on top of things. So
I
the
did watch.
wellness room, I'm really excited about. So last year we launched our DEI task force and our DEI initiative here at TMSA. And one of the things that we're doing this year is having a wellness room. And inside of there will be coloring pages and stress ball and fidget spinners. I bought some like lavender spray we can put in there for a nice like calming
I
effect.
love it.
We'll have a sound machine. It's just a way to kind of bring it down a little bit. I personally can get very overstimulated at
Oh yeah.
conferences. I don't know if people realize that because I am very like I was laughing because in that video, one of my members was like, "This was so you and awesome." I'm like, I feel like I look very caffeinated in that video. And they're like, "Yes, but that's you." I'm like, very true, especially this close to conference. But yeah, like I run it like 200 all the time. And so when I crash, like I very much just need that moment to come down. So we're really
Yeah.
excited to be able to offer that. And then if you signed up for any of the optional networking things that we put in motion, so we have like a riverboat cruise on Sunday, we have a whiskey tour museum, we have ghost tours, we have a port tour. You'll be receiving that email. It's actually should be in your inbox right now. I sent it out
Yep.
like I have like right before I got on this audio.
Yeah.
So if you sign up for any of that stuff, all of the information that is in there and all of the things are walkable. So we'll be meeting in different parts of the lobby to then head out in a group together. But we are offering, if you do have any type of mobility issue, to please let us know and we will coordinate a car for you to get to point A to point B and back.
Yeah. Yeah. We might leave you there.
So we will definitely help with that. But yeah, we just really are excited to all of the pieces, and TMSA is celebrating 100 years this year.
Yep.
And there's so many little pieces that we've put together that I'm really excited to be able to bring forward and have everybody be able to see. What are you
Yeah.
looking forward to most for conference?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I want to give you a shout out for you and the team for putting that together because, again, you have really thought about making the most out of the experience as opposed to just focusing on the conference. Hey, what are things that we can do to have people interact with the city and the environment that they're in, not only from a philanthropy perspective, but also just enjoying it. So kudos to you and everybody that you've worked with to put this together. In terms of what I am looking forward to the most, outside of conference, some of the fine New Orleans cuisine. I've been there once before in my life, and man, the food is amazing. Everything you've heard is absolutely true. Specific to the conference, it's really tying back to everything that we've been talking about is continuing to be able to learn from some of the best in class people within their respective seats. So both sales and marketing and new initiatives that people are doing and pushing out there. I want to soak as much stuff of that as I can. I know David Hoppins is even having a session about how he's continually learned and grown throughout
Mhm.
his career. And I think that that's a super insightful session for everybody, let alone some new people to the organization. But in terms of what I'm definitely looking forward to the most, it's for sure just learning from some of the really intelligent experts that are going to be there to speak.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to so many things. A lot of them are the secret things that will be revealed while we're
Oh
there.
yeah,
But I am very much looking forward to you and I are doing a session together on
yeah,
conference ROI. I think
yeah,
that it's really important to not just attend conference, and we do try to make it fun and engaging and let people experience the cities that they're in and give back together and do all of those things and make real connections. That's really, really important to me. But you also have to be able to go back to the office and say, this is what I learned and this is how I'm planning to implement. And so
yep,
that is kind of how we are wrapping up conference this year, is with me and Coleman giving you guys the best tips on how to do that, how to engage specifically to TMSA, but just also just some general tips as well, to really get that biggest ROI for attending conference and making sure that I know I have failed many times in that, oh, I immediately then come back to the office and my inbox has exploded. And then it's like a year later,
yeah,
you're like, what?
yep.
So we want to prevent other people from making that mistake.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that we do here is trade show consulting. And that's something that I'm passionate about because to your point, we've all been there. You finish a conference and you're like, oh man, I just got to get caught up on work. And then everything that you did at the conference falls to the wayside. So you
Mhm.
definitely want to make sure that you are seeing some sort of ROI. And some of that is affecting your bottom line. Some of that is helping you in your career and grow and learn more too. So we'll talk about those different aspects for sure.
Awesome. Well, there is still time to register for Elevate if you're watching this live. We've had submissions come in today. So you can scan this QR code. You can also go to events.tmsatoday.org and other things going on. So while we do have our Trailblazers and our Rising Stars will be awarded during awards night next week, our Mountain Mover Awards are open. So those are going to be your top sales, your top marketing people, and those will be awarded at our Executive Summit October 10th through 11th in Hoboken, New Jersey. So if you have somebody that's a top sales or marketing person, be sure to nominate them. And then if you are interested in being a guest on the Move, it is welcome to all of our members or people associated with TMSA in some way. You can scan ding,
Yeah.
this code up here. And we can also put these links in the show notes. So if you're not watching live on LinkedIn, where all these things are nicely scannable, you'll still be able to check that out. But I love being able to tell our members success stories and
Yeah.
really just, for me, TMSA is all about the people. And so I
Yep.
love being able to highlight everybody and what they're doing and where they came from and just hearing more about each other. I find it
Yeah.
really interesting. So this is one of my
Yeah.
favorite parts of the job.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And again, being fairly new to the organization, right? I can't speak highly enough about what you've put together and everybody that's been a part of it. I've met some truly phenomenal people that I'm now very close with. And I feel like I can hit up anytime with any questions, comments, anything along those lines. So I would echo everything that you were just saying. It's a phenomenal organization. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Oh, so my last question for you, I almost forgot, which is really important because I ask everybody.
Uh oh.
If you could go back in time and talk to a younger Coleman, and this could be something personally or professionally, what age would you go back to and what would you tell him?
Wow. I Can I give two answers? One
Sure.
is a serious answer, but a little bit more on the joking side, and then one is strictly professionally.
Sure.
I would definitely go back to 2008 when I first heard about Bitcoin, and somebody said that I should get into it, and I
Mhm.
thought that it was just a black market tool, but I should have gotten 10 to 100 coins, whatever it was, and I'd be sitting pretty now. So that is the little bit less serious of an answer, but I would say probably straight out of college, when I started with my career path, I think that I would go back to then and say, make sure to try and focus on enjoying the ride. I feel like that's such an old person to say, but I mean, it's true, right? Like, I feel like for so long we're so focused on the end goal of, hitting a certain milestone in your career, making so much money, but really being able to soak everything in as you're continuing your career and taking it day to day is super important. So I think that I would go back to when I started my career and say, hey, enjoy the process, take in as much as you can. Don't be so focused on, what the end goal is going to be. Things will fall into place as it is.
That is good advice, and I like it. So, thank you for participating in On the Move and also for emceeing our show next week. If you guys
Of
want to
course.
hang out with me in Coleman next week, go to events.tmsatoday.org and get registered. But with that, that concludes On the Move for today. And it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And we will see you all next week. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.